If you're going through one of the toughest seasons of your life right now and you're in survival mode, this episode is for you. We're going to give you some tips to show you how to thrive during the toughest seasons of your life. Because whether you follow Jesus or not, hard times happen to us all, and we can immediately just get all tight and scared and start fighting against the storm, this hard time in our life. And we came to tell you, because we've been going through it for the last like 15 months, you can thrive. You can thrive. It's not the end. Jesus is with you. You're getting stronger. You don't even know it yet. So stay tuned, baby.
Hi, I'm Marisha.
And I'm Antoine.
And this is the Great Unknown Tour podcast.
The purpose of this podcast is to help create a roadmap for people to step out on faith and embrace their adventure with God.
We have sold all of our things in preparation to travel for 1 year in an RV with our 2 kids, interviewing couples about trusting God in times of uncertainty.
All right, let's get into today's episode. A part of embracing the great unknown is going through tough seasons. When I look back at some of the toughest seasons in my life, it was in those places that God gave me a greater capacity for patience, for suffering, for perseverance, a greater sense of discipline, a reliance on His Word, important pruning that need to happen. Pruning is just mean cutting. It's a like a art agricultural term for cutting things away. What happens is a farmer cuts dead pieces off a plant away to make room or to cause new growth, right? So taking things away that cause new growth. And
like getting your hair trimmed.
Yes, the perfect analogy. I know I know the women will get that. That doesn't apply to us. Well, I guess there's some guys with, edges that not edges but split ends that need to get trimmed. But this important pruning process and experiencing God's grace and mercy, like storms, hard times, really bring out something that cannot be brought out during easy times. When I got released from my job in December 2021, we thought like, okay, it's probably gonna be a little, a nice, a small, maybe a hard time, maybe a little tight time, maybe a little storm, and we thought like, okay, we'll get right back on track with our goals, doing this, saving money, having, getting, continue on our plan to furnish the place where we live and, get our other kid in preschool. And just, we had this plan. We had this plan that we were working on. Like, we're finally in the big leagues, earning the money we want to earn. Like, let's do everything to increase this. And so that plan didn't keep going after I was released and applying for jobs. And if you've been with us since episode 1, you know that we are working on touring the United States right now with this podcast to teach people to embrace their adventure with God, to trust God in times of uncertainty. And that call came to us while we were figuring out this, not having a job thing. And so we thought like, okay, it's going to be a quick little time. And then we realized like God is asking us, well, we couldn't find anything. God called us to start working on some entrepreneurial stuff. And then in the midst of that, told us about this tour and asked us to say yes. And we were like, well, I was like, no for a minute. And then He not got us to say yes, but, He worked on our hearts, gave us more clarity, gave me more clarity, gave me more vision. She was already on board. And we said yes. And so in this time, we faced eviction, like winter court, and they stamped the paper to get evicted. Our finances have been turbulent, and still we're
Good word.
our finances have been turbulent, and it's still tight. It's been tight. You know, our marriage, our relationship as a married couple has been challenged. Our faith has been challenged. Like, it feels like this period of time, this hard time for the past, like 15 months, has just really, like, stretched us, given us a new capacity, but also has just, you know, been really, really tough. However, even though there were these times where we hoped, like, okay, we reached this milestone. We paid our rent, or we got this government grant to pay our rent. Now the tour's going to start. The money's going to roll in. Didn't happen. Or all these places we thought, like, okay, we're going to get this RV and we're going to start. No, didn't happen. Like, this, all these things we felt like were going to catapult us into a different season, hasn't. And we just find ourselves in this same season. But we've looked back and said, like, man, it's been 15 months. It's been a long time, or we thought and hoped it was going to be like 3 months or 6 months. And I just remember counting the months, like, it's been 8 months. We're making it. It's been 9 months. Like, I don't know if I have enough in me for this. And so we felt led to share some tips that have helped us to thrive during this tough time, because thriving in regular times, or prosperous times, or successful time, is very different than thriving in a tough time, in a storm, because things are getting shaken up. Things aren't like what they were. And so thriving looks very different, but you can thrive. We have been thriving, and we're going to share some tips of what, how God has done it, how he has helped us to still, have our right mind, to still be hopeful, to still be pushing forward and entering into new faith spaces with him, like starting this podcast, working on this tour, starting businesses, well, at least launching businesses, how we have started, schooling our kids from home, and just all the different ways that God has helped us to move forward, even though we're still in this storm and the wind and the waves are just as loud as they've been. It's thunderstorm, sometimes it's a hurricane, sometimes a tornado. It's wild out here right now, but we have been making progress forward and thriving. What would you say? We got anything to add?
No, you wrapped it all up nice.
All right. Before we get into the episodes, before we get into the tips that we're going to share.
I thought that was the episode.
Before we get into the tips, the 4 tips at least that we're going to give people to help them thrive.
Okay.
We just want to give you some tour progress. The Great Unknown Tour is progressing. I can't lie. We can't lie. Sometimes it's like, man, forget this tour. Not forget this tour, but like, God, when you, like, I feel like sometimes
you got to check in, like, hey, God, are we still doing the tour? Just to make sure we're on the same page here, working towards it. And, sometimes you get lost in, like, the day-to-day vision of, we're going to do the tour. So you just keep on going, working, and you forget to check in with God, or that he was the one that gave you the vision for it in the first place. Right. So, lately I've been like asking, like, we still supposed to be doing this? Or have you switched it up and just been waiting for me to come ask you about it? What's going on?
I've been there before. Like, hold on. Hold on. We still doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've been like, sometimes I've been like, maybe we're just going to be here. Maybe we're just going to be here. Maybe we just sold everything, and maybe we're just tripping, And I don't think that's true.
Maybe he just wanted us to be minimalist.
Right. So just, And it's so important again in these seasons because the wind and the waves, what I mean by the wind and the waves is all the different circumstantial challenges. With finances, it could be not being able to get basic things, or the stress that comes with finances or bills, or you got to pay bills back. I mean, you're late on bills, and so you're navigating shutting down stuff, or government assistance, or whatever it is, and you just be like, man, I ain't nobody thinking about this tour right now, and yet and still I feel like God is still like, come to me, seek me for what's next. This stuff doesn't even matter. I got all that covered, right? In my word, God says in His word, necessities are taken care of. What you eat, what you drink, where you live, I know all that stuff. I got all that stuff. So seek me first. Now this is Matthew chapter 6. Verse 25 through 33 that he says all this. Anyways, tour progress. Tour progress. Man, it's going to be fire when the tour starts. Like, all this is documented. It's going to be like such a celebration. Mm-hmm. Our site right now is down for maintenance.
Down for maintenance?
All right.
Are we maintaining it?
Yes, but just to be vulnerable, we need to pay the bill. We need to pay the bill. We need to pay the bill. And right now, finances haven't lined up. Well, I just wrote it like, we need to communicate that if they go to the site, if it's somebody new and they go to the site, it's like, well, it's not up, but why? Honestly, we just need money to pay the bill. So if you want to sponsor paying for the website every month, it's $35 a month.
Maybe God doesn't want us to have a website.
That too. Hey, I reconcile with that too. I was like, well, it is what it is. And when I get paid for it, get paid for it. Or we can pay for it for the year for $256. Whatever. If you're interested in that, that's cool. If not, this show still got to go on without it. With or without it.
We're still doing this for sure. Like, we went to something called Catalyst. I love that name. Recently. And there...
What is Catalyst, babe?
It's a place of change.
Like what like...
That doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
This is what matters.
All right, my bad.
Like, God was like, do the tour. But, like, He said it as if... as if He was waiting for us to, like... just get up and go. Like, we had everything we needed.
Right.
And I was so, like, overwhelmed by just His presence. Have you ever been there?
Today, that's how I felt in church today.
I was so overwhelmed by His presence. I was just
away.
Like, oh, this is so wonderful. I forgot to ask or just say, like, God, well, where's the stuff? Like, people that do ministry, you understand. Or even, a job out in the world, not in a church or not God related. Like, you just need finances to do stuff, to get stuff done. You need people to help. You need, things to make movement. And so I'm like thinking about it now, like, God, He said it so, like, do the tour, interview the people, go out. And I'm like, okay, like, we said yes already. Did you think we said no? Like, are you waiting on my yes? Are you waiting, like,
Yeah.
Real moment here. I guess I got to revisit that conversation. But we are definitely, like I said earlier, checking in with God, like, are we still doing this? Yes. The answer is yes. So we definitely want to keep the website. We definitely are still looking for a motorhome.
Yeah.
Or RV. But if we have an RV, we got to get a truck too. Got, like, everything else is, like, packed up, ready to go. We've got some people lined up to be interviewed.
Hey.
It's going to be, like, it's coming together, and we're getting more and more excited about it. It's definitely going to happen. Yeah. I am more confident about that, but it still looks the same as it did yesterday or last week, as
Yeah.
if no progress has been made or nothing has happened, except for, I know you're about to share in the update some things. And so when things happen, it's exciting, but it's not like everything that we need.
Yeah.
And I'll pause.
Well, you said something important.
But it's motivating.
We said things haven't changed, but I think that we are changing. And Chiron, who married us, who discipled me,
We are changing.
Pastor Chiron said, if nothing around you changes, but you change, everything changes.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that has been a difference because today, we're filming this on Sunday.
At
February
midnight.
26th, yes, at midnight. So if we ever, I know
So it's actually Monday.
it is Monday. In some episodes, you may see me yawn. It's because it's like midnight after we put the kids
So
to bed.
rude. Yes, but that is true.
But today in worship,
Why'd you mention that?
because you said it was late, and I know I've yawned in other episodes before. So we had coffee at 10 o'clock at night. We'll see how this goes. Today in worship, I felt God's presence. Well, I feel God's presence wherever, right? In worship. But like it was different. Like I was arrested. Now that sounds super spiritual. I was
Captivated.
yeah, I was stuck. I would say I was stuck on how great God is, right? Like like you, right? You look good right now.
Thank you.
When you came out, I was like, man, you look good. And I was just staring at you. I was stuck. You know what I'm saying? Like admiring how beautiful you look, right?
Thank you.
And so in this point in worship, and I just started like, talking to God, worshiping Him with my words, and telling Him I love Him, and how He's holy and wonderful. I just couldn't stop. I was like, oh, I can't stop. And then I felt like He was like, told me to go to a corner and lay prostrate. Lay prostrate. That means go from kneeling to just laying out on
Just
the floor.
be on your face.
Yeah, just like this, like just laying out. Now that could seem real weird for people. I understand, but he and I have been working at this for a minute. So I went like in the corner, and I was just crying because I felt he didn't say this because I was still just like adoring Him, like, God, you're so holy. God, I love you. But like I felt it was a shift, and I'm getting to the point. I'm saying it. I feel like He revealed through I don't know, through my spirit, emotions, whatever, that like I felt like I had to repent for not walking in the authority that He's given us. Like it was to your point, like what you just said. That's why it made me think of it, because you just said like He was like, do the tour. Like I felt like He was like, bro, what are you doing? Not in a disrespectful way, but like, fam, you my son. What are you like? What are we doing, man? Like, what are we doing? Like you're a lion. You know what I mean? Like, what are you out here? Go get it. Not like American hustler mentality, but like, like you said, like that tone of like, go do the tour. Like it was like that, right? I need to think about like, God, what does that look like this week? I don't know what that looks like. But to your point, I think that's cool, because like I was messed up. Like I was over there messed up. Like, I'm sorry, God. Like I repent. I turn away. I change my actions and my attitude, towards this event. So I think that's dope that you said that. So, yeah, we would love it if you would sponsor the site for the year. Again, it's $35 a month if you pay monthly, but if you pay for the year, it's $256. And the site will be up and running. That's how we take donations. That's how you can sign up for the email list. Because I was going to later say, like, sign up for the email list if you want to learn about our fundraiser. I would just say, I guess now you just email us because the website is down until we pay for it.
Yeah.
But tgutour@gmail.com. tgutour@gmail.com. Yeah, we're going to give updates about, we're going to do a live, we're going to do a fundraiser here in the DMV. Yeah. Were you going to say something before I go on to the next update? That felt
No.
good. That felt good to be honest about why the site's down though.
Yeah, that was
That's
odd for you not to
well,
be.
I mean, it was lightweight embarrassing of like, to say, you know what I mean? Like, oh, we couldn't, it's $35. You know what I mean? Like, we couldn't pay the bill. It's like, man, it's whatever. It's whatever. Anyways, so one cool thing about Tour Progress is one of our friends, shout out to our friends, they own a t-shirt making business. They've been doing it for a minute. They are going to give us a heat press for us to be able to make merch on. That's really exciting.
It is.
We are excited, but we're not going to like get really loud because our youngest child is sleeping in this room right here. But that's super exciting because we definitely, when we did the first tour in 2016, we we didn't have any merch. We didn't have any merch, anything to sell, and a lot of times people may not give a donation, but they wanted to buy something, to support, and we didn't have anything. And so this time we're going to have things to sell, and being able to make it ourselves would be fire when we, because we could just order bulk, hoodies or t-shirts or sweatpants or whatever we want and make the t-shirt presses or make the heat presses and press them. Now, I've never done this before, so it may not be that simple to order the presses for the design and do it, but we still get to own our process. Like we get to make it. Like, we get to make it. Like if, we could, I don't know, make shirts for the kids or custom, make maybe small custom orders or something. Like if we're in a town and someone's like, oh, we want 5. Like we can make 5 real fast. So that's dope. So shout out to our friends. We'll keep you updated on that. And yeah, we'll keep you updated on the fundraiser too, because you'll still be able to support. Even if you're not in the DC area, you'll be able to support because we'll be raising money for the tour, for the nonprofit, Yeah. All right. Let's get into these tips though.
Let's do it.
All right. So when it comes to thriving in hard times, thriving in stormy seasons, one thing that I've learned one thing that God has showed me, I would say, showed us really, not just me, is that during storms, during hard times, you got to strengthen self-care. Strengthen self-care, examine your self-care, get disciplined about self-care. Self-care has to be a priority. And we define self-care by rest, movement, leisure, and spiritual disciplines. And when I think about like how are we just surviving when it came to self-care, I can speak to that. It's like a lot of times when I get into a hard time, I want to just white knuckle my way through it. Meaning like I'm gonna stay up late every night. I'm gonna grind, like it's a sprint. But a lot of times these storms are marathons, and so if I'm not resting, especially with kids, as a single guy or even married before we had the kids, that might have worked. But with kids, it's different because even though we may be going through a hard time and a storm, they may not be. They may be totally oblivious to what's going on and think like, do. I mean, maybe when they get older, they may look back like, oh, we maybe didn't do this or do all these things that we usually do. But overall,
they don't have to.
Yeah, they don't have to know that. And so rest has been important. Not only just sleep, but like resting my mind, taking it off those things, because in a storm, in a hard time, in a storm, you have the wind and the waves, you have everything making all these noise, and you feel like I gotta do something to get us out of this right now. But as you study like rest in the body, there's a certain point that going without rest doesn't work. Like working, like in a work week, if you once you go, I think it's past 50 hours. Once you hit 50 hours or 60 hours, um, there's diminishing returns on the work that you do, right? And so with a family, we're cooking dinner, we're taking out trash, we're cleaning the bathroom, we're spending time with each other, like cultivating our relationship and doing our best to help it to continue to grow, even though we're in this hard time, because it can be a strain, and you can just let it go and not tend to it. And rest is a part of that. And rest is a part of that. And so,
Yeah, I agree.
and so thriving, I don't know, I wanted to make space for you to go ahead and go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just like you keep saying the word thriving, I was gonna look up the definition, but I remember when I first learned about the word thriving, and I was just like, what is that? One of my old bosses, Nick, was like, you do such a great job working for me, but I want, you to thrive. I want to see you thrive in the things that you want to do and you feel passionate about. And I was just like, what is thrive? What is thrive? And I like had to ask him what that meant. And because I felt pretty good, like I liked the job, I liked my life, you know what I mean? But then when I looked up thrive, do you know it offhand? It's like,
I could give a layperson's term.
yeah.
So, thrive means to go above where you are, like to thrive in a situation. So, I'm gonna explain it through story. For me, there's been situations where, or jobs that I've thrived in versus just I went. Like there's jobs where I just worked and I did fine, but there's jobs, here we go, where I came alive and a different kind of impact was made because it was the right environment for the gifts that I've been given to shine. So that's how I would define thrive. It's like an environment that's conducive to growth and or impact. For a certain object to have growth or impact.
Yeah. This one isn't as exciting as what I remember, but
We can find another definition.
for a person to prosper or flourish, be successful, healthy, strong. Anyway, you guys can look it up too. You probably already know what it means, but your girl did not. And because no one even taught me that that's what I should be doing in life. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought life was like you get by, And so I was like fighting against that of just the get by, but it's like, well, what else is there? So that was like an epiphany for me. But like, as you keep saying it, I'm like, well, if I'm in a storm or a hard place, like I just want to hold on to something and get through it, and I'm grateful that I got through it. Like when you're in a plane and there's turbulence, you just hold on and you're like, okay, I'm just going to wait for it to stop, because what else can you actually do? There is nothing that you can do to help the pilot, to help that plane. You don't even know what turbulence is. So, you know what I mean? I mean, you might know, but it's like, what are you going to do but hold on? But like, how can you be successful in that time is like crazy to think about. Like, why am I trying to be successful? I just hold on and close my eyes and wait till I get out. But there's so much
It's totally counterintuitive.
in life when you're going through something with God, I will add, there's so much growth that can happen.
Yes.
Like, you can flourish. Like, you don't have to just hold on and close your eyes and wait till it passes or you get through. And I think it's great, and it may be all that you can do, to just hold on to Jesus and believe that he's going to get you through, you know, to the other side. Like, hold on till it's over. Yes, but there is like another level that you can partake in with God. And if you don't have a relationship with God, like, he'll still be there. And I think he still allows certain things to happen so that we can cling on to him and call for him for help or answers or to get us through. And I think that's whether, like, you don't already have a relationship with God, or you do and you've been doing the hold on tight, close my eyes till I get through, or you're like, yeah, I want all that there is to learn while I'm going through this. I'm going to just say it now. I was thinking, let me save it to the end. But for me, I think God wants a relationship with us, like, continually. He's like, more and more and more. Like, okay, I want you to know this about me and who I am. Okay, I want you to know this about yourself and who you are. Like, he's trying to open our eyes and get us to see him clearer and life more vividly, and just our purpose, you know, more clear, and like understand the authority that we have here on earth, understand how to walk that out and what to do, what to say, you know, how things operate in the spirit, so that we can call heaven down on earth, like into our lives, our situations, and help other people. So there is a place of thriving in the storm for sure. I think that's what I wanted to say.
That's cool.
In addition to.
Yeah. And when it comes to movement, like, for me, there's studies that have been done on this, but for me, what I find is if I'm not moving my body, and for me, movement looks like working out, stretching, like 10-minute stretches, going outside with you all and with the kids and Marisha, or going on a walk.
That's so
Negative thoughts just start to crowd my spirit, crowd my mind. And what I find is when I just go work out, it's like a 20-minute workout. Those thoughts are gone. It definitely happens even more when I spend time with God. But when I work out, that stuff is like, it's almost like it washes off or it pushes it back.
Yeah.
And it gives me a deeper capacity for the day. So when the kids are being, you know, doing age-appropriate things that are annoying for an adult, right? I'm able to withstand that. I'm able to be there for them emotionally.
Yeah.
When I'm moving my body, right? And I can tell when I'm not, because I feel, you know, there's brain fog, there's anxiety, and so then that goes into even nutrition. So with nutrition, and again, in the storm, there can be so many circumstances you can't control, right? Like, you know, we haven't always been able to control what food we ate. You know what I mean? And so it just feels like just eat anything that is around, is given to us. And one thing I found was like, man, I got tired of looking in the mirror and being like, man, I can do better than this. And so I started, you know, I've started eating differently, but it was a reminder from God of like, sometimes in stressful situations, I can turn to food subconsciously or you know, as someone who's in, 30 something, it it is important to be thinking about what I'm eating because I'm not 25 and
What?
I'm just going to eat something that's going to fall off tomorrow when I go for a walk. And it's going to affect my day, my thoughts. Even like I realize like eating sugar, I get tired after, like an hour after eating, I don't know, pancakes with the kids or something, or just different foods. And so I've changed. I've had during this time I've had to change how I eat so that I can be alert during this time. I can be clear and I can be alert to help navigate through this storm. Because can you imagine not being at your tip top best going through a hard time? It's just like it's gonna make it.
Yeah,
It's
even
gonna make it
harder.
worse. Yeah, it's gonna make it harder.
And I mean, I would say even for the 25-year-old,
Yeah, for sure.
be aware of what you're eating because
Yeah,
you might not think it affects you because you're looking at like
that's
your
true.
waist size,
That's
but
true. That's true.
your emotions and, you know, effects of your gut and your tomorrow or how you sleep may be affected by certain things.
Yes. Yes.
So,
That's
I mean,
that's true.
just, yeah.
Leisure. I think when in going through a hard time like this, a hard time in general, it can be hard to think about leisure because we go through hard times. It could be a week or a month, but like an extended hard time when people go through like cancer for a year, or you're dealing with grief for a year. Like when you're going through a storm for like an extended period of time, you don't like all you're thinking about is getting out the storm. So something like leisure, meaning like having fun,
Yeah.
us still doing our best to do our like date night, even even at home, or to what did we do yesterday?
And
It was
yeah,
snowing. The kids wanted to be out in the snow.
cut off the conversation about what are we going to do?
Right,
And watch a funny movie
right,
or some stand up or some.
right. Or to hang out with friends. We had a friend from New York come down for a
Conference.
conference or an event, and she stayed with us. We talked. We got a friend who's in a new relationship, who's younger than us, who
Oh, yeah.
we've been talking
Make
to.
time for other people. Like, take the attention off of yourself
Yeah,
and your problem and,
yeah,
like, talk to other people about what's going on in their life. Offer something that they may need, look for a way to support someone else.
yeah,
I think is a good way to not just get through, but to thrive.
yeah, yeah. And so that
Yeah.
like looking for leisure and taking leisure is important because when we when we're going through this hard time, leisure is also a form of rest. It increases morale. It gives us something to look forward to. It gives us some hope, and it gives us a nice shot in the arm. Just having a fun time with friends, or
Yeah.
we had family dinner with my sister and brother-in-law and niece. Last week with the kids, and it just feels good to be around people. Or there's a couple friends that I'll take calls from during the day, and it feels like, oh, this is frivolous because I could be, we getting out this storm and getting out this hard time. But it's like, yeah, but you need to talk to somebody. Like you need to get these thoughts out of your head and be a friend to somebody and not just focus on this one thing because you don't know how long this is going to take for you to get out of it. And what I've seen is God has been building things in us that can
Yeah.
only be built right now. And some relationships are growing and thriving where I don't think they would have even existed had we not been going through this. And so the
Yeah.
next thing is spiritual disciplines, like in terms of self-care, spiritual disciplines are huge because in this time it's so easy. I mean, I've seen it myself to not continue to get up and be disciplined about reading the word or singing songs to, with, for, and about God, or praying, or sometimes it's like, man, why even go to church? Like, that's cost money to go to go to church, to drive.
It does.
Like, yo, can we borrow $15 to go to church? Like, we could just watch it online, but it's just something about being there, being in the room, people having eyes on you, and to get out the house.
Yeah.
Because the kids also need to get out the house. We need to get out the house, see the skies.
They love it too. Yeah.
And so those spiritual disciplines will also, what we found.
The sun, not only is vitamin D, you get vitamin D, but it fights depression.
Yes.
Just like go in the sun, go outside for 20 minutes a day.
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully you're in a place where the sun is shining, because it's not always the case here.
Right.
Yeah. Can I talk to the moms for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going through these things, and a lot of them, I'm like, man, that would be nice if I could do that too. But not that I can't maneuver some things around, but for me, sometimes that just seems more stressful. But some wins would be a long shower. I mean, hopefully new moms, like, if you get one in, like, that's a win. But going through something, I can see how that would be even more difficult. Or you may opt to, like, not do that so that you could sleep, or, do something else. But I would say, like, instead of prepping food or cleaning, like, do the shower, do the bath, or whatever it is that gives you rest and peace and makes you feel like a person. Keep doing that and more of it. Like, just add an extra day or extra 5-10 minutes in the shower, and wash your hair, and just do some self-love, some self-care like that. I try, even now, my kids they're not older, but they're not babies where they're napping all the time. And one of them refuses to nap, our 5-year-old. But when the younger one is napping, it's quiet time. So I have her... When he's talking, he's not yawning.
That's the yawn.
When I'm talking. But yeah, I'll give her something to do, or just have her stay in her room, and I will take a nap. Or that will be my time to journal, watch something like a sermon, or do praise and worship, listen to some music. But lately it's been just napping. So don't feel like you have to... Oh, bless you. Don't feel like you have to, like, have this tight regimen of go outside, work out, spend time with God, do this, eat right. Like,
yeah.
Do what you can do, because I'll tell you, like, it's very few days where we're doing all of those things.
Right.
And if someone is, he's likely the one that's doing it, because he can work out without a kid jumping on him. If I try to work out with the kids around, they will want me to hold them or they want to do it with me, but that means they are, like, side by side to me, which, that's not going to work out.
Yeah.
But we have started spending time, like, singing and listening to music, doing praise and worship together with our kids, just in the room. So if they want to do it with us, they can join in. If they don't want to do it with us, here's something to do off to the side we're going to be doing this for the next 30 minutes. And I love that. I love that. And I'm not, secretly jealous of him getting to do it by himself in his room, which I think that's important too. But, and me, out here watching the kids, if I do it by myself, it's a different story. But if dad is here, if he's here and we're all doing it together, the kids have a different calmness about them. And I think it's good for them to see too. So anyway.
But I think you raised a great point. And even thinking about how I process some of this stuff, I think as a husband, as a leader of a family, it's important to prioritize those things that I was even saying, because it's like if we go down, fathers, husbands, if we go down, the whole family is affected.
Oh, yeah.
Same with my wife, but even as fathers, like they're leaning. The truth is, it's hard. It's a hard reality to accept sometimes, but they're leaning on us. They're depending on us. Now we're leaning on the Lord, right? So He's our strength. He helps us have the capacity to do this, but they're leaning on us. They're leaning on us to show them the way, to show how to endure this storm, this hard time. And so that's also the perspective, definitely, that I'm coming from. So thank you for talking about what it looks like as a woman, as a mom, stay-at-home mom with the kids. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you're stressed out, we're definitely all stressed out. It don't matter what I've been doing.
Right.
It's hard to counter that because the kids can feel it, I can feel it, and it's just like this aura in the house. So it's really great when we're on the same accord, together.
Agreed.
But if anything, like God's plenty times been like, let him be in the room and do what he needs to do to be in his right mind. Like, help him, quiet the house so he can have time to spend with me or work out or do whatever it is he needs to do because of what he's saying. So as hard as it is for me sometimes, my motivation to get out the house and get the kids out the house has been for him, and it just benefits all of us. Like, it benefits the kids, it benefits me, and then, it benefits him too. So.
I didn't know. I haven't heard you articulate that.
Oh.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, because I know for me, like, if you're like, I'm going to give you time, you got an hour to yourself, like, in the bedroom, but you guys are still here, I hear the kids screaming, or I'm confined to the bedroom. It's great, but it's not the same as having a quiet house and knowing that I can roam freely and do what I want,
Yeah. So keep in the frequency that is doable for you. We're just encouraging you to keep the spiritual disciplines a priority, not a certain regimen or routine, but just it has helped us to keep the proper perspective of what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we feel like God is with us, and what we're going through, he's not surprised by, and he has it right in the palm of his hand, and he's like, no, I want you, again, like you just said, like, do the tour, do this, do that. And it's like, what? Like, what? Like, well, do you see our situation right now? Like, ain't nobody care about doing this podcast tonight. We need to figure out these bill situations. You know what I mean? And it's just like, no. He has the proper perspective. He's like, I got it covered. You just do this stuff. I do that stuff. Okay, God. Cool. So then another tip for thriving during hard times is drop the facade. Now, I think this is something I have struggled with a lot, probably the most. I feel like God has been working on this in me the most during this time, is letting go of what people care, what people think about, or even what I am afraid people think about what's going on with us or how we're navigating it. And the thing that God gave me when thinking about this episode is like, don't worry about how you look fighting for your life. Like if you're in a storm, and let's say you're in a boat on the sea, and you're in the storm,
Yeah.
don't nobody care. Don't nobody care that you took your shirt off to roll faster. Nobody care about your rolls in your stomach because you're trying to stay alive on a boat. Or don't nobody care about your breath stink because you're rolling on a boat. Now this is an analogy, but I'm just saying that to say I've cared
Yeah.
about like, oh, what does this person think if we ask to
Right.
borrow money, or what do the people think if I say we this what the website ain't up because we ain't paid the bill,
Right.
or you know what I mean, or what do the people at the church think if I say, y'all got like a benevolence fund to help, or what, like, or someone asks like how you doing, and like, oh, we're going through a hard time with this, or if a parent asks, about this, or if we feel like God is saying, asking somebody to borrow money. Specifically, actually, one time we were super hungry. There's like hunger of like, there's like, you need food, but you probably didn't buy enough groceries for the week, so you're gonna be like, you're not gonna eat as much as you want for a couple of days. And then there's like, okay, we're tired of eating beans and rice, we want something else. And then there's like, you got that one can, you got that food in there that you don't really want to eat, but you eat it if you need to. Then there's, we ate all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we don't have money coming in, and we
Not
don't
one
know,
grain of rice.
and we don't
Not
know
one noodle.
what we're about to eat.
Not one.
And we found
can of
ourselves
beans.
in that last position, and I was like, there's these. I got relationships and friends, but I feel like we've not exhausted, but like talked to the people that we're in rapport right now, relationship with, and I feel like God was like, nah, you need to ask these other 5 people that you haven't talked to in like a year. And I'm like, bruh, I cannot. What? I'm a grown man. We're married, being like, yo, this is our situation. Could you help us? And these are friends. These are deep, lifelong friends. But it still was like, I'm a grown man. We should be out here doing our thing. And it's just like, drop the facade. Like, tell people you need help. Tell people what's going on. Be vulnerable. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're not going to get through this hard time alone, and you're not going to get through this hard time just by walking around being like, yeah, everything is cool. Everything is great. Everything is awesome. Everything's cool when you join the team. Everything's awesome. Like, no, it ain't.
Is that a song?
Yeah, it's from the Lego movie.
Oh.
The first Lego movie. But
Oh my
I'm
god.
just saying, like, it's easy to walk around like that as an adult because you because of all the different social media cultures and all the cultures where you don't see what's going on behind the curtain, or even on the podcast, it's just being like, yeah, we got clothes on, we look cool. What I mean?
I can tell who listens and who doesn't listen to the podcast. Because some people, they'll know because we post about it or something, and they'll just be like, oh, look at you. I see you on, podcast, doing a podcast. And they're like all smiles and just like give me a pat and like keep going. I'm like, oh, you don't watch. Because you would have questions.
I was going to say, everybody who watches be having questions.
You would have so many questions.
People have questions, yes. If you watch, you got questions for sure. Like, how are y'all? Yeah.
What are y'all doing again? Or are you okay? Are y'all okay?
Yes. And so thriving for me in this area has looked like, man, be vulnerable when God leads us to share with certain people, let go of what it looks like when you're talking about do the tour, do all this stuff. It's like, it's not going to be perfect. It's not like You know, if we need to interview somebody during the day, the kids might be all up in the episode. We don't know how that looks yet.
Right.
You know, but what I have found is like when I started making music, it wasn't good. Like it was the best I could do, but the audio engineering was bad. So many stuff was bad. But if I didn't start there, if I didn't do the ugliness in front of everybody, if I didn't go through the ugliness, I would have never opened for J. Cole. I would have never opened for LMFAO. I would have never, did the stuff that we were able to do in music had I just been like, I can't do it because I don't want to be vulnerable about where I am, where we are.
Yeah. And this goes back to something else that we talked about before in another episode, but you never know what God is doing in other people's lives and how he's using you in your story. So I would say also drop the facade, because God could be working on those people, like like the people that you hadn't talked to in a while, you know what I mean? But God had you call them and ask them. They could have been going through something in their life, or it might just come full circle when they see you on the other side and be like, man, he called me and was asking, you know what I mean? And asked me, like, he didn't have enough food. Now look at him, And it's just another person to give witness to where you came from.
And what God was doing.
And what God was doing.
Yeah. Fire. That's, yeah. Yeah.
So
you got anything else? Because that was great. That was...
No.
Last one. We'll end with this one. Play offense. And I think this goes into a lot of things that we've said. Play offense. And what that means is move towards what God is calling you to do. Like move towards that thing, because in hard times it's easy to go in survival mode, shrink back, and stop working on or doing whatever God has called you to do. And what we've learned is this storm, this hard time might be the conditions, the only conditions where this thing that God is asking you to do will actually happen, which is crazy to think about. Like you couldn't do it in this, like, no, I can only do it under these specific conditions right now. And if you don't do it now, when this storm is over, you may not have the opportunity to do it because these conditions will be different.
So just keep moving forward, like keep doing what you're doing.
Well,
like
continue in the spiritual disciplines to seek God and take the chances.
Okay.
Like for us doing we felt like God was like, okay, do this tour, go around the country. So we we found a YouTuber that was doing it that inspired us and was like, oh, they have a Patreon. Join their Patreon and see if there's any stuff to talk about.
Gotcha.
Or things that we can learn. Or with us with the podcast, I got a client for the branding agency that we have, and we took that money. We had prayed about podcast equipment, this equipment right here, and then the next day, someone texted me and was like, basically, take my money, almost literally, come and get this money I got for you. And then it was the exact money we had just prayed for, so we bought the podcast equipment to start the podcast, and then we made a website, and we're like, we don't know how we're gonna pay for it every month, but we can do our best to get the message out of what God wants to do.
That's
right.
Good.
And so it's like it goes into even dropping the facade of man, we're gonna do our best to move forward with what God asked us to do. We started packing.
Keep believing, or keep living by faith.
Yes.
Because
yes.
If you correct me if I'm wrong, but the opposite. So if you are playing defense in this situation.
I didn't even explain that. Yes, thank you.
It's okay.
Yes.
If you're playing defense in this situation, then you would do something like take the money and not invest in what God said to do, but you would take it and save it for, like, just in case we need it for food, or like a panic
like
situation.
yeah. I mean, yes.
You would look more so at your current situation rather than the future or what God said is coming.
Yeah, or just what God is, not even being open to what God is calling you to.
Okay.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do with this that we have right now? Like with this money, with these things.
Gotcha.
What do you want to do?
Even
what do you
asking
want to do?
him
Relationships. Relationships and whatever is in front. Like playing offense. There's an NBA team, the Golden State Warriors, and in basketball, I mean, excuse the analogy if you don't if you don't like basketball or watch basketball, but it goes this way for pretty much every sport. Like when you're playing offense, you're trying to score, you're trying to win. Like you're attacking. There we go. You're in attack mode. You're pushing things forward versus like when you're playing defense, you're not necessarily thinking about scoring. You're thinking about not finding yourself you're focusing on not going deeper in this situation. You're focusing on blocking things from hurting you. You know what I mean? And playing offense is like, I can't stop all this stuff from happening on the defensive end, because you're still going to play defense in a game, right? You're still going to play defense, but I'm going to make sure that as soon as we get the opportunity, we're going to score. We're going to focus on scoring as many points as we can right now.
Yeah.
Right? Versus just laying off. Because a lot of times what happens in these sports is a team gets a lead and they start not playing offense. They start just playing defense, and then they lose the lead and they lose the game because they started being cautious. Versus when you live by faith, like if you're already living by faith and a storm happened, you got to keep pushing through by faith, because like we just said, this may be the only time for God to be able to do a certain thing. Like when I got that job that I was at before I was released, it was the pandemic, and I started, what did I do? I started, I taught that workshop. I taught that workshop about, teaching people to write hip hop songs, to process, emotional trauma. And that workshop helped me to be like a branding study or launch point for getting the job. But I only did that so that we can earn money during the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because everything was locked down. I'm like, okay, let's launch this, this workshop real fast.
And out of that, you got a computer.
And out of that, I got a computer.
Like someone gave you.
One of the students gave me a computer. How else, right? And the computer led to being able to do more creative work now this year, which led to another computer. And so that's what I mean by play offense, like you said, like continue to step out on faith and fight for faith.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go. You can finish. I'll wait.
No.
It sounds like to me, thinking about it, spiritually, is like knowing who God is, knowing your authority in Christ, and taking authority. Oh, you know what I mean? Like taking ground even still while you're in the storm, like knowing how you're using like the disciples in the boat with the storm and Jesus is asleep. Am I going too fast?
No, you're good.
And Jesus knew his authority, so he could rest. He could be asleep.
Because he knew at any time.
Yeah.
He could tell the wind and the waves to shut up.
Yeah.
And they can't do
anything. And they did not. So now, like Jesus is in our boat, like if you're a believer, like Jesus is with you, you know, and even more so, like his spirit is living on the inside of us, like his very spirit. So, like, that's how we have authority with Christ. So, if we are in a storm, in my mind, spiritually, if I'm in this storm, I could say to it, be still. Like, peace, be still. God willing. Have we tried that yet?
I don't know. I don't think so.
And so knowing our authority and knowing also what your purpose is, like what God's called you to do, and what like gifts and talents you have, and like use them, like use who you are, like don't shrink back from who you actually are, like who God created you to be, because that could be the very thing that just catapults you into the next season or out of this hard place into where God's called you to be. And something else is coming to mind is like earlier on in the beginning for us, I felt like this pressure, you know, like we were under so much pressure. And all the time, whenever I felt pressure going through something spiritually, I felt like, okay, God's using that to like squeeze something out of me, or like I'm being pushed through this small area to get to like where he is, like closer to where he is. So that could be going on too. So perspective, all of that could change in a moment, and it could change, like you said earlier, like if you change, then everything around you changes. So I will be more aware of that. I just had to put it in, like, I guess process it outside of sports.
No, thank you. Because that's just the way that it came to me.
Good.
But I want to talk about, you said authority. I want to touch on that, continue to touch on that. Because that's something that God has brought to me. Like when we were singing at Catalyst and even church, and we said, you are my champion.
Champion
Giants
song.
fall when you stand
Yeah.
And the crown part, you crown me. Like,
Crown
I felt
with
like
confidence.
God, you crown. I feel like God was like, put on your crown. Symbolically, because you cannot walk around here. A storm, a hard time, you know, you may not be able to have the clothes you want. You may not be able to get your hair done the way you want. You may not be able to, I mean, who knows, shower the way you want. You may not be able to look the way you want, to dress the way you want, to have the job you want, or to be able to visit the places you want, or eat the food that you want. There's so many things, and you can feel so much shame, and you can feel the storm, the hard time can define you. And authority is like, if we're U.S. ambassadors and we live in France, it doesn't matter what France is going through or what we're going through in France. We are still ambassadors of the USA. We still, if anything happens on the U.S. embassy, it's an attack against America, right? And so if we, the Bible says that we are co-heirs with Christ, like we are sitting on, we are enthroned with Him because of His, his life, death, resurrection. We are sitting next to Him in heaven, and if we are in the throne room, if we are in the throne next to Him, it doesn't matter what we're going through right now in this hard time and in this storm. It doesn't matter what you're going through. You are still a child of the King, and you are still a prince, a princess, a king, a queen in your own right. Not in the like, I'm a queen, I'm a king, but like in heaven, God counts you as a prince, a princess, king, queen of the dominion that he's given you, and we cannot let. We have to. God has to. We have to let God. We have to let God define who we are and what we can do, not the storm. Oh gosh, that's for us too. Like the storm can't define what you can do, and that's been so freeing for me. It's like, why would I start a website? Why would we do this tour going through this? And it's like, I don't know. I believe God is asking us to do this, so we're going to do it. And it's been freeing of like, look at all that God has done. Like in terms of the marketing, the branding agency, the people that I've been working with give me compliments all the time of like how this is helping them in business and changing their perspective. And sometimes I feel like, bruh, God, like, but can we earn more money from this? But I feel so connected to the Lord in those conversations. Like I'm supposed to be doing this, but I would have never done it had we never done this, right? And trying to figure out what's a way to earn money that we can be location independent. So hold on to your authority. Remember that this hard time doesn't define who you are. You still have the power and the authority. And the authority means like the permission, the grounds to do something, right? Like Marisha has the authority to tell a woman they can't call me because she has my permission, the grounds to be able to do that. Jesus has given us the permission to move forward in faith with the things that he's calling us to do, to live in faith, to live bold, to live prosperous. And a storm is here whether we like it or not, but we can control how we live, how we wake up. So even if the clothes we have are our favorite or whatever, we can still walk through with dignity and not walk through with shame because of the storm. We cannot let the storm cover us in shame. We are still clothed in the righteousness of Jesus' sacrifice on the cross. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
So, final thoughts?
Yes.
So I want to leave you with, no, that was the final thought.
All right. We love you.
Yeah, we love you.
I love you.
I love you too, babe. Glad we did this. That was good. That was good to get out and talk and to say.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see you next time. So say yes to the great unknown with God.
There will be miracles when you embrace your adventure with him.